G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Kat Piachaud from Katalyse Consulting based in Perth, Australia. Thanks for your time today, Kat.
Hi, Troy. Thanks for letting me be here today.
Let's start with how we know each other. I had Nikki Chamberlain on the podcast in August 2024 in episode 552. She was a great guest. And then she sent the email I sent to guests afterwards asking for other potential guests to come onto you. And then you reached out.
Yeah, Nikki's a great friend of mine, also Perth-based, and we collaborate a lot with our businesses. So yeah, really great contact to have.
Tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
Yeah, so I own Katalyse Consulting. So it is a bookkeeping and CFO consulting company. We outsource bookkeepers and payroll outsourced, I guess, and we mainly work with service-based businesses in Australia and also allied health professionals. So we make money in one primary way, which is on retainer basis, and we charge a weekly fee from $99 a week, basically, and charge that to our clients. We do a little bit of ad hoc work here and there, depending on the client's needs, but mostly retainer-based fees.
Great, much needed services, even in the day and age of AI. People are still going to need to talk to people about their books and their accounts, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Like having that person and that consulting part come into it, I think is just so important and invaluable for businesses at the moment.
And the fractional CFO, I think, is extremely valuable. Maybe tell the audience a bit about that, how you add value there and what that involves, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I find at the moment a lot of businesses focus on revenue and just something simple as like going through a profit and loss and looking at net profit percentages, expenses, how they're spending their money, where they're spending their money, if they're seeing returns on that. So it goes into a bit more of an analysis of their profit and loss and their reports. And I often get questions like, where's my cash gone this month? Or my BAS says I've earned this much money, but my cash balance doesn't show that. So it's really about creating a story for the client that actually makes sense to them as to where their money has gone. So in our CFO service, we prepare budgets so our clients can stick to them. We report on those budgets every month or quarter, and we prepare cash flow forecasts as well, which helps them really see into the future as to where their cash balance will be, given the decisions that they're making now. So another, really valuable service.
How did you start out?
So I've been a CPA accountant for 12 years now in Perth, Australia.
Sorry to hear that. As you know, I did a business degree majoring in accounting. However, to correct you before we hit record, I didn't do my professional year. I didn't want to become a bean counter. So I could have, but I leaned on my computing degree at PricewaterhouseCoopers instead.
Love that. I do regret not doing double majors though, I must say. I love doing maths. It was the best, like the subject that I was really good at in high school. And I kind of went along with my education thinking, oh, we'll just try this out and see how it all goes. I did a CPA, started in audit, went into public practice, which is where you're an accountant for an accounting firm, basically, and you have multiple clients. And then I went into commerce. So I was a finance manager for a large not-for-profit, which was a really rewarding role. But then I started a family and had 2 kids. And what being in a career looked like for me was having to put my kids in 12 hours a day of daycare and traveling a couple of hours to work full time, etc. So it wasn't really going to provide me with the freedom that I wanted that a business could give me, and 2, the impact that I really wanted. I think when you work for one business or one organization, you're only making an impact in that, whereas business owners can make such a huge impact if you have the right skills and you have the right mindset, I think. That's basically how I got started. I didn't really need any capital funding or anything like that. I just started off the bat. Being in finance, I'm very financially aware. So I felt a little bit insecure relying on my partner. He works for one of the big mining giants. But we refinanced our main residence, our home mortgage, because I wanted to have that financial backing. So I didn't have the expectations of having to earn money straight away because I was starting from zero. So the business grew extremely quickly. Um, but yeah, that's basically how I got started, Troy.
So, what year did you start? How old were you? And what was the catalyst for? Was there any one thing that you said, stuff this, I'm going to do my own?
Mm, good question. So I started in 2022. So it hasn't been around for too long. I was 32 years old. And business had always been quite interesting to me. My mum owned a childcare centre. My dad owned a cleaning business, and I was quite interested in it. But growing up, business looked really hard, and hard work gave you a payoff, basically. So I was really interested in changing that narrative for myself, and also for other business owners out there. I could see that I had a skill set or a viewpoint that business owners were dealing with currently and struggling through their businesses and then shutting down. Like in Australia, there's such a high rate of businesses closing down right now, and mostly it's because of their financial acumen. So when I was looking at going out on my own, I just thought, why not give it a chance? And if anything, if I'm not making that impact, at least I could have a bit of freedom with my family as well.
Yep. I saw on the news the other day that they're expecting in the next year, 1 in 20, so 5% of small businesses will go under in the next 12 months. And as you'd know, quite a few businesses that go under are actually profitable, but they run out of cash.
Exactly right. And that is such a good example of looking at your revenue and your profit and not actually looking at the cash figures as well, because you have to really, we all have to be really looking at both simultaneously. Yeah.
And do you have some key numbers you can share to illustrate the growth of the business over the last 3 years?
Yeah, sure. So when I started, I had one client. I was about on $5,000 a year. In about 5 months of starting my business, it just grew exponentially, and I ended up hitting about $400,000 in revenue. So what's
Holy
that
shit.
about? Like
That's
a
great.
thousand, yeah, 1,000% growth.
Wow.
Um, and now we're operating a couple of years on about $500,000 of revenue a
Yep.
year. Um, I hate talking revenue. I love speaking in net profit.
Yep.
Troy, you know why?
Yep.
Because it's so important. And I think a lot of people in the industry talk, especially coaches, speak about the revenue figure, but they don't actually talk about the bottom line, which of course is the most important part.
Yep.
So constantly looking at my figures and making sure that I'm operating at about a 50% net profit, which is pretty good for service-based businesses.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and tracking those expenses along the way because expenses are just as important as those revenue goals as well.
Yep. And how many full-time equivalent team members do you have now? You obviously started on your own.
Yeah, that's right, Troy. So I started on my own. The first employee I got was a Filipino bookkeeper. I when I hit the 400,000 mark, I had about 10 staff, and now I've kind of scaled it back a little bit, really made sure we've got the systems and processes in place, and we have 7 full-time staff now.
That's great. Yeah, I've got a team of 5 or 6, I think, all in the Philippines except for one in Pakistan. But they're just lovely people. After the World War II, the Americans stuck around for a while, so their English is very good. They watch American sports and movies without the subtitles. And 83% of the population's Catholic. So, like me, ex-Catholic altar boy, I've got a lot of Catholic guilt, but I've also got a very strong work ethic, is one of the things that comes out of that, and very loyal people.
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. I have 2 Australian full-time staff, it located in Perth, but they all work from home. And then the rest of them are in the Philippines, and they are just phenomenal to work with. I just feel so grateful to work with them every day. Their experience and their expertise is second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all university educated, and
Yep.
often when you pick them up, they've already had years of experience working exactly what in the field you need.
Yeah, I agree. They're great.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I feel like it's now. So finally, now that I've scaled back a bit, as I said, I've reduced my staff from 10 to 7, but our income is still growing. I'm earning more than ever, but it's back to the purpose that I started it for, which was the time freedom to be with my family, but also the impact that I'm making. So because sales are growing and we are growing, we're still making more impact. We're still making a change and a difference to businesses. We're constantly learning, but I'm also able to work less. which is so funny and so contradictory to what I've learned growing up around my parents' businesses, where you have to work hard, which means you earn more. Um, but yeah, it absolutely is now. I work 3 days a week. I'm with my kids the next four, and I yeah manage my staff. We get things done so efficiently because we have the right systems and processes in place.
Was it hard to transition to 3 days a week, not from a workload point of view, but from being able to let go and accept it's okay? Because I certainly struggle with that. And I love what I do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we think that we are the best at what we do. And don't get me wrong, we probably are. But I honestly feel like your team have to be A players.
Mm.
And
Yep.
it kind of came organically to me. I didn't really force it or think that that was going to be how I would go with my business. But I just hired the most amazing staff that I literally turn on my emails in the morning and everything is just happening. Like it's all just getting done because I've hired good people that take responsibility, that have work ethic, and they're just as clear on our mission as much as I am.
Yep. And are there certain industries and or geographies that you focus on, finding new clients?
Yeah, definitely. So service-based businesses mainly. So that could be marketing companies, and then also allied health professionals. So your dentists, gynecologists,
Yep.
dietitians as well, we focus on
And all around Australia?
all around
Mm.
Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, the next question's similar but different. What does success look like to you?
For me, that really looks like I'm not a morning person. So waking up every day on my terms and not having to rush around. I see people on a bus and they're all crowded in a bus or a train, getting to work by 9 a.m. to answer to that boss. That is failure for me. Like that does not look like success for me. I definitely agree that there's a time and a place where that is what you want to do, and that's fine. But for me, it's just those slow mornings, asking my kids how they are, having a chat to them before they go up to daycare or school, and just being present in the moment and having a day of flow, whether that looks like going to the gym at midday or having a client meeting or networking at whatever hour I want to. Just yeah, that flow, that time freedom. I used to think, interestingly enough, that it would be the money.
Hmm.
And when the money came, I found myself burnt out and just hating it and going, I'm looking on Seek for another job.
Yep.
Even though even because I just grew way too quickly and it wasn't sustainable.
Number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
So I feel like if you're business to consumer, at the moment, Facebook ads is probably the way to go. Most people are on Facebook or Instagram or the likes. Algorithms change all the time, but at the moment, I'm finding great results on Facebook ads. If you're business to business, I really don't want to say this secret because I feel like everyone's going to get onto it. But LinkedIn is fantastic. Connecting with people, using your networks, your connections is so important in a business to business environment, I feel.
Are you using Sales Navigator on LinkedIn?
No, I'm not actually. I'm just doing organic at the moment, but I am looking into that, trying to learn as much as I can. Do you?
Uh, no, I don't handle the marketing corner. I get told what to do by Amanda, AJ. Um, it's one of the things I think we're looking at next year, but or sorry, later this year. But a great guest put me onto an awesome LinkedIn course. Have you done any LinkedIn courses?
Yeah, I've just been watching some off YouTube actually.
I'll dig it out. I can't remember the guy's name, but it was like I think 99 or 199 US dollars, and a couple of people have
Okay.
recommended it, and it's 10 over 10,000 people have gone through it. Apparently, it's really, really good. So, yeah, James Ashford in the UK, who sold so he built up a SaaS business called Go Proposal.
Yep, I've heard of that.
Yeah, 2018, I think he started it. After 5 years, they got up to 3 million Aussie annual recurring revenue, and then sold it for uh, an eight-figure sum, and that's in pounds. So it would have been over 20 million Aussie dollars after 5 years with, I think, like 12 staff. And that's our longest ever podcast. Actually went for 2 hours. It was great. But yeah, so that software is for accountants to get proposals out while they're still in the meeting, or juniors can do it. and Sage, which is the Moab of the UK or the Zero of the UK. They bought them, so it's great. But he's avid on LinkedIn as well, and he highly recommended that course. So I'll shoot that through to him.
Oh, thanks, Troy. I appreciate that.
And what about SEO? Have you done much in that?
I haven't, to be honest. I do have a marketing manager who's just recently been on board for the last couple of months. So she's working through the website and using her skill set to kind of, yeah, start optimizing things a bit better. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, definitely SEO on all my businesses. We've got the Distillers Institute. That's been going for 5 years now. Got over nearly 700 students through those courses. Anyone thinking of starting a distillery in Australia and New Zealand? And mid 24, we launched the Brewers Institute and obviously at Grow Small Business. And yeah, SEO is really important and working very well. So I've got a marketing funding flywheel ebook that we wrote that I'll shoot that through to you as well. It talks more about that. And also email marketing. The Direct Marketing Association in the US does releases every year what channel gets the best ROI. Email marketing is $44 for every $1 you put in. The next best is SEO at 22, and then after that's paid ads at $20. So SEO is definitely worth looking into because obviously the high buying intent as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. This is why we have to be having these conversations with business owners because you learn so many things, don't
Yeah,
you?
that's right. Yeah, well, living in Melbourne and London and also now Hobart, but I love networking and talking business. We have monthly small business meet up here once a month and every 2 months up in Launceston. But yeah, and obviously doing the podcast, I learn a lot as well as impart a lot of tools and advice to other owners.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. Thank you so much. I'd love to try those. Got to try everything, really, don't you?
Yeah, that's it. And you mentioned funding your business, so you took a bit out of the mortgage to give you that buffer to start. You haven't taken other investors on, obviously. It's just been pretty much bootstrapped.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, bootstrapped all the way, and just myself at the moment. Yeah,
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I definitely would. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic industry. A lot of competitors, so you really have to listen to your consumer. I think anyone in any industry should listen to your consumer and make sure that you're tailoring your service to help them. But no, it's a fantastic industry. Being a CPA accountant, I guess, is my point of difference and analyzing a bit more through it, rather than just your normal bookkeeper that does bank reconciliations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a competitive advantage there, which I'm sure you are nailing, which is that word service, like just providing good service, being prompt in your replies and professional, but also doing what you say you're going to do. Just recorded another cast this morning, and I went on a bit of a rant how, I've had 15 businesses in 3 countries with 30 business partners. So I've worked with a shit ton of different accountants and lawyers around the world, and it's really hard to find good ones and bookkeepers as well. And it's just so simple to me. You just do what you say you're going to do and do it promptly, and that will set you apart to 90% of the bookkeepers out there in accounting firms.
Yeah, absolutely. And like integrity, I think is what you're alluding to as well, is actually a personal trait. It's not necessarily we have to have integrity with everything in our life, as well as business, of course. And I think I don't know if you find this, Troy, but business just highlights everything about you. And if there's things that you're not dealing with and you're not acting in integrity in your personal life, you won't be in business. And the risk is that we can ruin our brand and we can ruin our relationships that we've spent so many years to build. So yeah, it's one of the most amazing things about business is learning and just being your best self and acting in integrity and yeah, listening to your customer because that's how any business will grow.
Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Probably getting to that 400 grand in 5 months. And it's crazy because people are like, that's amazing, Kat. But it was so stressful. And I'm going to be so brutally honest that we fucked up a lot. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. I swear all the time.
Okay, cool. I was really shit.
Mm.
Like, if you used me in the first year of me being in business, um, I was so shit because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I I could put my hand up and say we didn't have any systems in place. We grew way too quickly. I didn't have the right people in the business. I was so reactive in the business. We didn't have the right processes and we didn't have the right quality assurance to make sure that our deliverables were quality. So it was so stressful. And it wasn't until I slowly started drilling back, I had to be honest with some clients because it was so embarrassing and so painful for me. that I had to say, look, we just don't have the capacity to suit your needs right now. And I had to terminate overnight probably about $150,000 worth of business
Mm.
to start hiring the right people, to start making sure we have the right systems in place. And by systems, I mean the right software, making sure that we're monitoring workflows and things. That has reduced my team's time by like 20%,
Yep.
which has freed up more capacity to then take on more clients, which is why we've been able to hit the $500,000 mark. But yeah, that can be a really, really stressful time if you do grow too quickly. You focus on the numbers too much, rather than building the right systems and people in place.
Yeah, I've had 10 or 20 guests on that have been very deliberate about pausing their growth. So the back office can catch up. Systems need to go up to a new level. There's more training or more people need to come into the team. So they will deliberately pause growth, turn marketing off for 6 months or 12 months to turn around and work inside the business for that time. Out of interest, to get to $400,000 annual income or in 5 months, on the marketing side, was that coming from your paid marketing efforts, or was it mostly coming from word of mouth?
It was mostly word of mouth. So at that point, I hadn't done any paid marketing at all, only organic via LinkedIn, my personal Facebook, and social media as well. But mostly word of mouth because I was in the industry for over 12 years. I contacted all accountants that I had been working with over the years, and they just started referring me business, and I was inundated, and I took it all on
Yeah.
without the systems in place.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
Probably my marketing. And I didn't realize this, but changing from employee to business owner meant that I had to become a marketer.
It's one of the hats. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
talk about the growth seesaw, especially in professional services. It's even more pronounced. But on one end, you've got people, and the other end's marketing. So you've got to run to the marketing end, get more work, clients, then run to the other end, hire more people, and you're just always running up and down that seesaw.
Um, yeah, I couldn't have explained it a better way. It's exactly right. Marketing was I'm forever learning. Like, you've mentioned a couple of things that I'm going to follow up on, and I just try everything. And because of that, I see the results and I try to monitor what actually works and check my KPIs every month and then put my energy in those efforts. But yeah, becoming a marketer was completely something I didn't expect I had to do. I entered into business because I loved maths and I loved making an impact to business owners. So yeah, interesting.
It's also a fun corner, marketing, and because you don't have a background in that, it's also fun learning something new, pushing yourself, challenging yourself. So, and I also highly recommend to owners, till they get to obviously a certain size, that they still need to keep across not just the marketing, but their own understanding of what marketing is and how it works, etc., and how it doesn't work. So you do a bit of professional development around marketing then? You read books. Have you done any online courses?
I haven't actually. I have a business coach and they focus quite heavily on marketing.
Yeah.
And I listen to podcasts quite a lot. So yeah, and read books and things to keep up to date on it. But no official courses just
I'll
yet.
send you the one we highly recommend, and we've done it. Amanda, our marketing business partner, has. I'm doing it later this year, but it's run twice a year in April and September. It's Mark Ritson, a marketing professor. He became a marketing professor age 25. Had him on the podcast. It was a swear off. I take the piss out of him right at the start from when the first time I heard him speak in person, because a few business mates raved about him. Other marketing people that I respect had him as their marketing professor, and the raves about him. I finally got to see him speak. He was amazing, and everything he says about marketing, I agree with. But when I saw him get really animated and rant about there's only four fucking P's, there's not five P's, there's not seven P's. You'll hear it at the start of the podcast how I take the piss out of him on that, but. He's brilliant. So he was marketing professor at London Business School, MIT, Melbourne Business School, consulted to Louis Vuitton. Knows his shit. And then about 8, 9 years ago, when his first child was born, he's mid 50s now, I think, early 50s. Didn't want to be traveling 6 months of the year. He says on the cast he was earning $1 million a year consulting plus doing the professor stuff. And so he moved his teachings to an online course, the mini MBA in marketing, which is brilliant. And he's now got one on branding, and they've just launched a third one. So I'll shoot that through to you. It's only about 3.5 grand Aussie, yeah, plus GST. But they get like something like 20,000 students a year through those courses around the world. So that's the best place to start for business owners, I think, even if you don't own the marketing corner, understand the fundamentals. Um, and I'll shoot you through a few other books that you may not have read yet. Obviously, Awesome by April Dunford, which is on positioning. Sales Pitch is her second book. Building a Story Brand. Have you read that one, Donald Miller?
No.
Got to read that. And the Jolt Effect, which is all about the status quo, why people make don't make a decision in the sales process. And there's a really interesting study in there that is a great book as well. So I'll shoot you through some of those marketing books.
Thanks, Troy. I'd love that. It's awesome.
And the other one is Influence by Robert Cialdini. It's a bit of a classic. It's in the 80s. It's all about consumer psychology.
Yeah, I feel like I've read that
Yeah.
one.
So many great stories in there.
Yeah, I really find consumer psychology so interesting.
What have you enjoyed least about managing fast growth? And by fast growth, you have had tremendously fast growth in that very compressed amount of time.
The self-development that comes along with it, like actually learning that at the time it was really painful to learn, to terminate staff, to terminate clients, to admit that we were doing a shit job and that it's okay. So the hardest part was just making those phone calls, I think. Absolutely hated it. But in hindsight now, it's like accepting that that was a lesson. And I'm really glad that I failed and failed so quickly, so quickly in my journey, because I've learnt everything from there and I've been able to put things in place so that we're a well-oiled machine now, and I'll never take advantage of any of that. So even though the failures were the hardest and the mindset and, telling yourself you really are crap and you're shit at what you do, getting that to that low place, but then picking yourself up again. You have to pick yourself up. You have to believe in yourself and just keep going.
What do you love most about growing a small business?
Probably the self-development part as well. Yeah. I didn't think it would be, and it's definitely hard at times, but you learn so much about yourself and you just have to keep growing. Like you mentioned, integrity and saying what you doing what you say you're going to do to your client, responding in time. So we have KPIs and we have to respond. My team have to respond to their clients within 24 hours, because the biggest complaint about accountants and bookkeepers is that they never contact you, or they don't respond to your emails, or they don't return your calls. We don't want to be that. And that's so easy. It's not going to cost us any more money. So it is. It's learning so much about yourself, the discipline, the integrity, because that is, as I said, it shows up in every single part of our life. You become a better person, not only for your business, but for yourself as well.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
That there's no such thing as failure. Failure is a lesson, and it's a great thing for us to learn.
The number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
Discipline. Because you'll not always feel motivated. Motivation will dip. There'll be times where you hate business and you're looking on Seek for another job, or you're looking to sell it or whatever. It's hard. So don't always rely on motivation. It's a discipline every single day. You know what you've got to do, just get it done.
Yeah, you've got to have things in place. So if you are feeling a bit down or flat or demotivated, funny story for me, it is working on a spreadsheet that really gets me fired up. I'm a big numbers person as well, so
You go, see?
I'm a nerd.
And you're sick right now. And you showed up. You did it anyway. You had a whole day full of podcasts and you're here. So that's the discipline you have to take in business.
Are you a small business owner? You know that getting recruitment right can make or break your team's success. Just one mishire can cost your business up to 27 times their salary. Finding and retaining top talent is a challenge, especially in today's competitive market. That's where our Ultimate Recruitment Toolkit comes in. Over 10 intensive days, our online course is designed specifically for small business owners like you. We'll walk you through the process of sourcing and securing A players for your team. Here's what you'll gain. Learn the proven strategies to pinpoint and attract the best talent in your industry. Access our comprehensive playbook filled with templates and tools tailored to fit your business needs, and apply the resources right away to enhance your recruitment process and streamline hiring. Invest in your business's success by helping your management team become effective recruiters. Supercharge your hiring process today with the Ultimate Recruitment Toolkit, available at growasmallbusiness.com. Now, you've got up to 10 people at your peak, back down to seven now. Can you talk to how you've added people to the team, some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
So I had to let go of a lot of stuff, which was quite hard. Um, but just being honest with them and having open conversation. So most of my team are from the Philippines, and there's this thing in the Philippines called saving face, which I feel like Australians don't necessarily go through as much. And that was quite a learning curve for me to understand these cultural differences. So often you'll find Filipino staff don't admit when they've done something wrong because they're scared that they're going to get fired or
Yep.
you're going to get upset at them. And it's not necessarily the case, as we know. If they admit to you that they've done something wrong, then you can deal with it and actually make a change, which is fantastic. So earlier on, I've set those expectations. Whenever I hire somebody, we go through our mission and our values. Whenever we have a team meeting, we go through the mission and the values. That's the first thing we go through. So everyone is aligned and on the same page together. And then often I'll ask them if the role was what they expected. And that opens up a conversation because it's not just that they're working for me and they owe me everything, it's that I owe them everything too. And sometimes our mindsets might be at different wavelengths. So that opens the conversation that they can admit to us and let me know that they expected X, Y, Z, and I can see how I can make that work for them. But it also opens the conversation so I can communicate to them and let them know that they're not meeting my expectations. I give them a bit of time, and if it doesn't work out, I say hire slow, fire fast.
Yep.
And one of the best lessons I was told in business, it's shit, it's hard, but you have to hire slow and fire fast because one person in the business can just be so toxic. It would be toxic for my clients. And toxic for my team. And I just didn't want that in there. So having a big team, even seven, it doesn't sound big, but it can really make an impact on my business. And I can't have it. So always make the decision to, yeah, hire slow, fire fast. And I've had to make a lot of those choices. And now it's like, okay, I can just tell within the first week if that team member is right and aligned or not.
Reminds me about a book I read called The Hard Things About Hard Things. I'm not sure if you've read that one.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Ben Horowitz, so he's a partner at Horowitz. Anderson, Mark Anderson was the inventor, creator of Netscape back in the 90s. So I think he's a billionaire. And Ben Horowitz is his business partner in their VC fund. But he wrote this great book. And I was running around Christchurch in New Zealand at the time listening to it. I had to stop when I heard this bit of the book, which just sums up what you've just said, which is if you've got to eat shit, don't nibble. You just got to rip the band-aid off and get it done.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely.
And did you have you got any pushback from other business owners or other people about hiring people, people in the Philippines? Because obviously their pay rate is much lower than here in Australia.
Mm. I have actually. So I had probably only one business who wasn't okay with it. I'm quite transparent and upfront about it. I don't hide anything. I don't like entering into business relationships that way. Um, it's in my contracts as well, that I'm able to that I do outsource. So unfortunately, it got to a point where they had already engaged, and then they realised that the bookkeeper may not have been. In Australia, we do have Australian CPA and CA accountants that review everything before it goes out. So that's where our quality checks and things come in. But yeah, they weren't quite happy with it. So we kind of continued with it. And then eventually they did terminate for that reason. Often I find it's a cultural difference. So they maybe just don't understand the cultural. It can sometimes be communication or it's a security issue as well.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, some people question me on it, but obviously it's arbitrage because the cost of living in the Philippines is shit tons lower than here in Australia for a start. And I had John Jonas on the podcast a couple of years ago, who's the founder of onlinejobs.ph. I'm not sure if you use that platform. It's the Seek of
We
the
do.
Philippines. And
Yes.
John and I had a conversation around, I'll shoot you through that one as well. But and he made some really good points that you're actually helping them out because he said because the parents have to travel, like one of my team members, her husband was traveling 2 hours to work and then 2 hours back. and she was able to work from home. So what would happen is the grandparents would raise the kids basically. But now with a lot more people over there able to work from home, one, it's saving all that commute time and cost, but they're actually getting a stronger family relationship from it. So I thought that was a really interesting point that John made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all win.
Yeah.
If yeah, you kind of apply that.
Well, and also the pay rate, while we might think it's quite low, I'm sure you do as well, but in every business that I know that have offshore team members, they always pay a little bit above what the market is over there for that role. And even that is that what they would have paid, is a great earning for them over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I wouldn't say that my team members are really any more cheaper than Australians because I pay them the fee, but then there's the 13-month bonuses, and we give out quarterly bonuses as well on retention and response times and things like that. So they're very, very well remunerated. Their work ethic is second to none.
Mm.
I wouldn't be able to get that in Australia.
Yeah.
And their quality is really great as well. So I think we all win, whether it's the Australian economy or Philippines economy. At the moment, it is so hard to find accountants in Australia, like
Yep.
almost impossible.
Mm. And did you get onto the idea of using an offshore team early on, or did someone put you onto it? Was it your first hire, or?
Yeah, so I worked for a accounting firm previously where they did hire offshore, and actually I've worked for quite a few. So the Philippines, Vietnam, India was where my previous accounting firms hired from, and so I was quite interested, and I kept in touch with some of the Filipinos that I'd worked with previously. So when I initially started out, I hired part-time staff, and they would work out of hours, and then over time I went through onlinejobs.ph. Yeah.
What are some of the things you recommend to building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with growth?
Just care about your team. There has to somewhat be boundaries. Of course, you're a business owner and you're there to run a business, but make sure you're looking out for them. Check in once a week or once a fortnight and go, how's your family going? How are things going? We forget that people have lives and people are dealing with things. We often think that the business is everything because it's ours and we relate so much to it. But checking in, how's your family going? Often people have off days just like you do, and also be human to them as the CEO or managing director or owner. You are human, and let them know that as well. They will have more respect for you as well.
Yep. Tell our audience how you've handled balance. Sounds like not very well to begin with.
Absolutely not. Like earlier this year, to be honest, I was so burnt out. I was working 100-hour weeks, uh, had like tonsillitis maybe 3 times in a couple of months, never had it before, rashes all over my body. And not only is that unhealthy, it's just not sustainable. And my clients weren't happy either. So I'm not happy, they're not happy, my team aren't happy. And it wasn't until I said, I've like enough's enough, I've got to hire more people and stop trying to do everything on my own. Um, and yeah, just make it kind of work for me. And what does go back to the reason why I started the business and what success looks like for me. So scaling back has really helped me achieve that and just start looking after myself as well because balance is something that I think every business owner always strives for because I love working, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. Like you'll often see me at night with my laptop. And that's not because I need to, it's because I want to. And I think entrepreneurs and business owners get to this point in business where we feel like we've got to do, but we can't do unless we're looking after ourselves first. So for me, it's about putting my family, putting myself first, and then the business comes second, which can be hard at times.
And how much professional development have you invested in yourself, apart from obviously the bean counter, CPA, continual development hours you have to do, the technical stuff, but more on the business and the management side of things. Have you done much professional development there?
Yeah, so I definitely keep in touch with all the CPA stuff, all the tax knowledge and things. Often listen to podcasts and I have a business coach as well. I read books all the time and I definitely network with other entrepreneurs as well. So really getting our minds together and brainstorming ideas as well.
And have you had mentors? You also got a coach, but have you had mentors along the way?
Yeah, I have a mentor who ran a really successful accounting business, and is kind of exiting the business right now after about 10 years of being in it. That business is worth about 40 million now.
Wow.
And he really assists me along the way. He started, yeah, 10 years ago, and I think in 10 years to achieve that much success is just incredible. But yeah, really, really interesting and so important, I think, for us to all have. We underestimate mentors who have been there before. And so much we can learn from them as
Yep.
well.
And do you have a board of directors or advisors?
I don't know.
All right, Kat, we're on to our final five questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
You getting yourself right, whether it's work-life balance, whether it's your mental struggles, whether it's the pressure that you're putting on yourself, integrity, discipline, you will be the hardest. The answer is always you. Very confronting, but the truth.
Right, and favorite business book which has helped you the most?
The Diary of a CEO. The 33 Principles of, I really liked that one. It was very insightful and yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people told me about that book. I didn't really enjoy it. I don't know if
Oh
I
no,
finished it. No, and I've still got a bit of OCD. I have to finish things. So, for example, the air conditioner has to be on an even number, as does the TV volume. So I've got some little idiosyncrasies, but I just, I don't think I could finish that one. Yeah, very impressive. He's got a very impressive backstory, so it was entertaining. But anyway, have you read the E Myth by Michael Gerber? I assume you have.
yes,
Yeah.
years ago. I have to revisit that one.
Yeah, I reread it every year or so. It's the number one book I recommend people read before starting, let alone growing their business. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love Layla Hormozy and Alex Hormozy's. Your podcast is amazing. I think we can learn so much from other business owners and entrepreneurs, and I really loved listening to the ones that I have so far. So yeah, I think just sharing ideas and things is amazing. Yeah.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
Get a coach or a mentor. Someone that is where you want to be, not someone that is telling you they can get you to those 30K months,
Hmm.
someone who speaks your language that you can learn from and that you resonate with, but is where you want to be because they understand everything that you will be going through.
Yep, totally agree. Just back on podcasts and on learning tools, have you listened to or read any of John Warrillow's books?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Do you think you will exit one day? You'll sell the business?
Yeah, I do think so.
Yeah, I'd recommend. His podcast's been going for about 8 years. I'm almost through the whole back catalogue. I listen to 3 or 4 episodes a week. And the first episode, funnily enough, was an Aussie that I listened to. Mark Wright, now living back in Australia on the Gold Coast, but moved to the UK in 2013, went on the UK Apprentice 2014, won it. Lord Sugar invested £250,000 in his business with shitty digital agency with 5 cheap staff. And the plan was build it over 6 years, Mark step out for 2 years and then sell it. And they got to 130 staff, digital agency, and went to Lord Sugar, said, "Time to sell. What should we sell for?" And Sugar asked, "What multiple on EBITDA does a digital agency in the UK get?" And Mark said 3 to 4 times. And Lord Sugar, being Lord Sugar, said, "Right, I want 5 times." So off Mark went, 49 lunches, 48 no's. If they hadn't agreed to his headline terms for ordering lunch, lunch was off. He stormed out. 49th was a yes. So the terms were all cash, 9.5 times EBITDA, and I walked the next day, and that's what he got. So I was hooked after I heard that podcast, and I've had Mark on ours as
Wow.
well. It's a really good one. But yeah, John
Incredible.
Warrillow, we've had John on, the author of these 3 books of that podcast, on a couple of times. He's really good. But his 3 books are Built to Sell, The Automatic Customer, and The Art of Selling Your Business. So I'll shoot those through to you.
Great. They sound phenomenal.
Yeah, and there's heaps of lessons there where people fuck things up on exit, not just legally, but in negotiation or, price wise, etc. And there's so many lessons learned. So even if it's years away, it's a really good resource to put on your list to get through, firstly through those 3 books, but then slowly through his back catalogue. There's a lot of professional service businesses in there as well that they've sold.
Amazing. Great insight.
Finally, my favorite question: what would you tell yourself on day one of starting out 3 years ago?
Give everything a go. Say yes. There's no failure. There's just lessons. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much for your time today, Kat. I really enjoyed it. Phenomenal growth in 5 months, getting up, starting from basically zero sales to $400,000, starting in 2022, 3 years ago, age 32, and now around the $500,000 mark. Had the team up to around 10. A lot of those are offshore in the Philippines. You've now dialed it back to 7 to make it a little bit more manageable. Congratulations on the phenomenal growth and also getting down to working 3 days a week, getting that balance back in check is amazing. Well done.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for your time today, for having me on.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.